Hey, happy April 9th. It's Groundhog Day for like 30 days in a row now. Hope everybody's safe and healthy. I was actually having a conversation with my sister the other night, and she goes, when are you going to do another video? And I said, hey, you know what? I'll do another video this week. So we have been getting a lot of questions in regards to, well, three different things: forbearance, modifications, and not as much servicer, but I want to talk about that. So I want to go back and just dumb down what happens when you take out a loan as much as possible. So you want to go buy a house, or you want to refinance a loan, you would go to an independent mortgage company, or you would go to a bank. They would give you a loan, 30-year loan, 15-year loan, 10-year loan, whatever terms you're doing. And then they would close that loan and sell it to an aggregator. And the aggregator, 70% of the loans done across the country are going to be aggregated by Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae. And what happens when that happens is you would take out a loan, it get pooled into huge pools of loans, and it gets turned into a security. So Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae aggregate it, and they sell that security to an investor. The investor could be a pension fund, hedge fund, mutual fund, whoever, but that's how it all works. Oversimplified, that's what happens with your loan, okay? Once the loan is done, you make your payments to a servicer. Now that's important, because what we don't talk about when we talk about forbearance really is the servicer. So we've been getting a lot of calls about forbearance and how it works. So for one, forbearance is not a forgiveness program. Forbearance is a pause in making a payment for a period of time because of a hardship, okay? Well, there's a lot of people that have been affected by the recent coronavirus outbreak. And so there's been a lot of requests for forbearance, and probably will continue to be for a period of time. So what the aggregators have said, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, is, hey, look, we know there's an issue. We are going to grant forbearance of anywhere from 3 months up to a year, because we know that people need it, and there's a lot of people that do. Well, what they don't talk about, or what's more important than that, is how that affects the servicer, okay? So when you service a loan, the servicer is the one that collects your payments, pays your taxes, pays your insurance. That could be, again, bank, mutual, individual mortgage company that services your loan, independent mortgage company that services your loan, or a servicer of loans, and that's all they do. So what doesn't happen when you go into forbearance is that servicer still has to make the payments to the investor. So in other words, if you're the servicer and you service $1 billion worth of loans, and all of a sudden 30% of your clients can't make their payments, but you're still required to send in the principal and interest payment on those loans, the taxes on those loans, the insurance on those loans, well, you can see how that would be a pretty big drag. Like if 30% of my income dried up and I still had all these liabilities that I had to fulfill, or payments that I had to send in, that's a big deal. And that still is being worked out. So more to come on that. But that's important, because when you talk about forbearance, what Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae say, Ginnie Mae, honestly, a lot of this stuff is up to the servicer on how they handle it. And the assumption is when you take out a forbearance is they just add it on to the end of the loan. That's not necessarily the case, because if I'm a servicer of loans, I've got to start putting some money back in my pocket, because I've just made 3 or 4 or 6 months worth of payments that I haven't collected from a lot of people, okay? And that's kind of unprecedented stuff, and that's why it's such a drag. Like usually, that percentage of people isn't there's a smaller percentage of people that are affected by things. Even compared to 2008, like this is a big deal. I think the other question that we get a lot is forbearance is not forgiveness. You actually have to pay it back. Okay, it's just when you pay it back. So what I've been reading online is, you call your servicer. The servicer says, okay, yep, we know that there's a problem. We're going to grant you forbearance for 3 months. Well, at the end of 3 months, technically, that's the pause. You should make up 3 months worth of payments plus make your 4th month worth of payments. That's where you run into the snag, because if you're not working, now what's going to happen at that point? That's the problem that the servicers are having, is what do we do from there? How do we make up this money? Do we say to you, well, at that point we got to reanalyze you and do a modification, which is a change in the terms of your loan? Hey, we're going to add it to the loan. We're going to change your terms. We're going to extend the term of the loan. A forbearance doesn't do that. A forbearance is just a pause in the existing term that you have to make up. They don't change any of the terms of the loan, okay? So you can see how this would be confusing if you're a consumer, because there's a lot of assumptions that are made on how it's going to work, and there's not a playbook for this kind of stuff. So I think what's going to happen is the servicers will be reanalyzing things at the end of that window, and if somebody is still out of work, or maybe they lost their job, there's going to be some modifications that are probably done, or maybe the servicer is going to come back to you and say, okay, well, we know you can't make up all 4 payments, but you're going to have to make up those 4 payments over the course of the next 2 years. So we're going to raise your payment by that amount of money for the next 2 years while you make that up. I think those things are the things that are still being worked out in this scenario. And I think that's why there's a lot of confusion, and I think that's why there's a lot of frustration. But it helps to understand the servicer's perspective to know what that really means. So hopefully that helps dumb it down a little bit. If you have any questions, our office is always open, and we'd love to hear from you.